With us now, Brigadier General John Teichert, former Assistant Deputy Undersecretary of the Air Force, Vice Admiral Robert Harward, former CENTCOM Deputy Commander. Gentlemen, glad to see both of you. I believe you are the ranking officer, Admiral, among the two. Does this give Iran the opportunity to regroup, rearm?
Without a doubt. This is a strategic pause on both sides of the table. And
who benefits most from that?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, but let me kind of paint the picture for you. They've been getting hammered every day, 24 hours a day for 37 days now. They just needed to breathe. And their command and control disrupted. They don't know who their communication, who they can control. So that gives them at least breathing room, because I believe they were on the tipping point of losing it all. And that's going to come inevitably, no doubt about it. From our side, this gives the president the opportunity to say, the straits are open.
Are they, though?
That. Well, the Iranians agreed to that, or so we understand. If they haven't, and they haven't shut it, we can start this thing up very quickly. So that sun's just come up in Iran, days. Let's see what happens today.
Let's see what happens in the Strait. We're going to put up the map of the Strait, just those 20 miles. This is the live picture. You haven't seen a lot of traffic through it. I think, Admiral, one thing that has surprised Americans a lot, this was the most predicted war over the past 50 years. You planned for it when you were at Central Command. The idea of the Iranians closing the Strait was the most predicted enemy action that could have been existed. I talked about it 15 years ago as a Mideast correspondent. How is it that after 38 days of war, the Iranians were still able to control it?
It's war, the fog of war and the challenge. And I would say one of the unknowns, and we saw this in Ukraine, now we're seeing it in Iran, drone warfare. The mass and scale, always mass has been a dynamic of conflict, but mass swarming of drones, cheap to produce, producing thousands. I don't think anyone understood the scale or numbers of drone, and that's been a real game changer. Just as Ukrainians, for a few $100,000, used technology and innovation to balance the power with Russia, Iran's done the same with us with drones.
General, at some point after 38 days of bombing, you've pointed out rightly that we've enjoyed air supremacy over Iran that really the U.S. military has never had in any kind of war before. Did they run out of targets? Was there diminishing returns going forward for us?
Leland, I think in part, yes. But I think now that we've got a chance to take a pause, we can reassess some of our prior assumptions. Where are the target sets that we just left alone, that we didn't strike? And I think now there's a chance to go back and think through what are the ways, if this starts back up again, that we can provide or produce the most leverage by increasing costs and risks on the regime, instead of just striking the same old things. Energy targets, I think maybe some of the power targets. But the assumption I would love to re-challenge is, should we emphasize more, if this started back up again, those targets that would foster the conditions to maximize the opportunity for regime change?
So this is Pete Hegseth on that point. Take a listen.
You see, had Iran refused our terms, the next targets would have been their power plants, their bridges, and oil and energy infrastructure. Targets they could not defend and could not realistically rebuild. It would have taken them decades, and we were locked and loaded.
You know, Admiral, when you hear that, the regime doesn't care about power grids or water or anything else. They do care about their oil infrastructure. We're going to put up the map of Karg Island. This is 90% of the oil exports that Iran goes through here. That's the lifeblood of finances for the regime. Second point, yesterday morning, this is what the United States was bombing. Should we read into that taking over Karg Island with ground forces is the potential next move?
Well, you don't have to take it over. You can do a raid, make sure everyone's off the island, leave, and prevent anyone from coming on. And that's what we demonstrated with this current raid to recover the pilot. Anyone coming in, you're going to get killed. So there's a lot of ways to skin that cat. But I got to go back to what the general said on the regime change. More important than all is their lives. And don't forget, the Israeli campaign went after the leadership. We can crank that up every day. Don't forget, We had bounties out on people before. We had decks of cards to identify people. So there's a lot of steps we have not done in escalating it to go after the IRGC and the Basij and those members.
We were told, though, that was going on, right? From the very beginning, Trump talked about regime change. The president was talking about those things. Are you saying the U.S. military was holding back?
No, but this prioritization of getting flow of oil through the straits, taking out the missiles, that was first and foremost. While we were pursuing that, the Israelis were going after leadership. When we combine those capabilities together, they get what they need done with Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. We've shut down the missiles, and then we can focus full capacity. And if you've seen in our previous conflicts, there's a whole wide range of tools we can do to do that, because that's what we've done. Afghanistan and Iraq, we've hunted people to capture and kill them. That still lies ahead, and why this inevitably, I believe the regime change is the final outcome.
Leland, I think that if there was something that we took a step back and said, what do we regret today not doing during the last 5.5 weeks? And I think that it is that we have not prioritized during those 5.5 weeks those types of activities, military and otherwise, that would give the best chance for regime change, because that is the ultimate grand strategic objective here that we really ignored for the most part.
Or cutting off the lifeline for the regime, which is their money, that could have got them fighting with each other. Gentlemen, thank you both very much.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.